when we practice meditation, we're practicing being aware of the awareness. But then the practice of being aware of the awareness, when we stop formal practice and we get up and we start to move around in the world and move around in our life, right? Then the personality kicks in, right? So what we're up to, what we're after here is to get to a place where, just in the same way when you're looking at the picture, right? Once you discover the rabbit, right? After that, when you look at the picture, you know that the rabbit and the duck are both there, no matter which one you're seeing. You know that they're both there, right? So that is a non-dual experience. Okay? Now you're having a non-dual perception of the image, because whether you're seeing the rabbit or the duck, you know the other one's there, right? So there's non-duality now. Same thing is true with the personality and the awareness, right? Since your orientation is to be the personality, there's an out of balance situation here, right? You discover the awareness, but then when you get up from practicing meditation and you move around in your life, you fall back into the form, fall back into the personality, right? But what's going on here, what this process is one in which even when you fall back into the personality, you don't forget the awareness, right? So you know the awareness is there even when you're not aware of the awareness. You know the awareness is there, just like the duck and the rabbit. You know the awareness is there, right? This is transformational. It's transformational because before you knew the awareness was there and you only thought the personality was all there was and that was the reality that you were experiencing, it created suffering. Because the other side of the equation wasn't there, wasn't available. So it created suffering because now as the personality, as a separate self, living in the world in a dualistic reality, there's going to be threat. There's going to be a fear-based system operating to protect you. There's going to be threat, and you're going to be seeking happiness and seeking peace of mind and seeking satisfaction, right? Because it's not available. That's why you're seeking it. It's not there. You're not having that experience. And so collectively, all of humanity comes up with the idea that, okay, since we're not experiencing happiness already, it must be somewhere in the world. There must be some experience that is available to us by getting things in the world that we don't have, because we do know that when we get things that we don't have, there's this experience that's pleasurable. You could call it gratification, right? And since we have not experienced being happy, when we have that experience, it's the closest thing that we can imagine to being happy, so we call that happiness. Happiness is now getting what I want, right? And so the collective human beings on the planet are playing the happiness game called getting what I want, right? And that game is you get preoccupied with that game, right? That game becomes a way of life. That game starts to determine how you think and how you feel, because that's the process of your life, right? All of what you think and how you feel, if you start to pay attention, all of what you think and how you feel is happening that way to keep you, to have you be successful in this process of seeking happiness, is it not? Yeah, when you get up in the morning and you do what you do, even though you may not want to do it, like go to work, right? Even though you may not want to do it, you're doing it because you're chasing happiness, right? Because the idea is if I go to work, I'll make money. If I make money, I can buy things. If I get what I want, I'll be happy, right? And so I make money, I buy some things, right? I get those some things. And it's interesting how it works, I don't buy furniture or a rug because I don't have a house. So I get a house, then I'm gratified and happy because I have a house, right? But now the house needs furniture, right? So now I want something, I have desire again, right? So I go shopping for furniture, I get the furniture, put the furniture in the house, now I have a house and furniture, and now I feel gratified about that, right? But now I need a rug for the living room, right? So now I'm not gratified anymore, I'm seeking again, I desire rugs. So I start looking at rugs, chasing rugs, and I'm making money to buy rugs. Buy the rug, put the rug in the house, oh wow, gratification, happiness. But then I start realizing that the house is too hot. House is too hot. Well, I need central air. I need to get AC now, right? So I'm back in the desire mode again. Get the AC. Can you see this is never going to end? Yeah. The more you get, what you get kind of gives you a sense of what else you need, right? And this will never end. I mean, you look at people who are multimillionaires, like famous people, like famous people that are entertainers, right? That have hundreds of millions of dollars, right? You ever see on YouTube where they say, they have a famous person and they'll say, lifestyle of Billy Joel, right? And then they say, oh, Billy Joel's worth $230 million, right? Billy Joel has six houses, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, one in Europe, right? Billy Joel has 150 motorcycles. This is true, by the way. 150 motorcycles, right? Right? And if you talk to Billy Joel about his motorcycle collection, you know what he'll say? Yeah, I saw a beautiful one in Italy last year. I'm having my people buy it for me, right? So it's ongoing. It's a never-ending process, right? So going back to what I was saying earlier, this whole business of seeking the truth, at some point, if you're paying attention, at some point you start to notice, wait a minute, I'm playing a game I can't win. I'm playing a game that perpetuates an endless process of desire. Endless process of desire. Now watch. Now I become a spiritual seeker, right? Because now I look at spirituality the way I look at everything else. I want to get what it has to offer me so I can be happy, right? So now I become a seeker, right? And so I start seeking a spiritual experience. I start seeking enlightenment. I start seeking this experience that I've heard about that will produce everlasting happiness. I start seeking that experience of everlasting happiness. Right? But the only problem is I'm still operating with an antiquated system. I'm still operating with a program that tells me what it is that I don't have that I want is in the world. It's in the world. Right? So I'm a seeker now, seeking this happiness that spirituality tells me is available to me, but it's in the world. Okay, I guess I'll have to go to India. You see how it works? I have to go to India, I have to find a guru, because happiness is in the world. The guru has the happiness, I want to get the happiness, so I got to go to the guru and find out from the guru, how do I get the happiness that you have? Right? Well, since the guru knows that he can't tell you, right? Since he knows he can't tell you, right? But he doesn't want you to go away mad. And if he's a corrupt guru, he wants some of your money, right? So he doesn't want you to go away mad, so he'll give you something to do. Oh, practice meditation, read these books, But most of all, come back to me and make donations. So you do that. You read the books, you practice meditation, right? You're doing this, and you're not experiencing this everlasting happiness that he spoke about, right? So you could become a seeker, seeking enlightenment the same way you were seeking furniture, the same way you were seeking a rug or a couch, right? You're seeking enlightenment the same way. And of course, you'll never find it that way. You'll never find it that way. So is the process a corrupt process? Is the guru playing head games with you, mind games with you, right? Well, in some cases, yes. In some cases, yes, right? In other cases, no, because there are enlightened gurus that really are sincere and authentic about wanting to support you and assist you in waking up, right? But one of the things that they know is that they can't talk you out of the system that you're being. They can't talk you out of the system that is operating you. They can't talk you out of the mental states you're in. They can't talk you out of the condition your brain is in that can only see part of the picture. They know they can't talk your brain out of that, right? So they know that they just interact with you, given the system that you are, and give you some things to chase after, because that's that's your MO. That's the way you operate. You're going to chase something, so they give you something to chase, knowing that you'll never find it, knowing that you can't find it, you can't succeed, right? So they give you that to chase, and they keep encouraging you to continue to chase it, continue to meditate, continue to learn, and so forth and so on. And they even tell you that if you do this correctly and long enough, right, that what will happen is at some point you'll have this kensho. You'll have this awakening experience. And when you have this awakening experience, you will have arrived. You will have arrived. Right? It's interesting that this process is a process that's inevitable and necessary, because the only way that you're ever going to get to the place where you have Kensho, the only way you're ever going to get to the place where you actually wake up, right, is by giving up, by surrendering. And the only way you're going to surrender is to amplify the process that you're in, you know, tell you to do it harder, tell you to do it more often, you know, tell you to do it harder and more often. Try harder, you got to really, you know, you're not going to get this unless you really make an extreme effort. Meditate more, longer hours, go to retreats, read more books, right? Give more money to the gurus, you know, be in service to the poor, you know, all this other stuff, right? And at some point in that process, you have to become so thoroughly frustrated, right? So thoroughly dissatisfied, right? And so thoroughly confused, right? That you just feel like, I can't do this. I can't go on any further. I've asked every question I can come up with. I've done more, I've done less, I've done different. None of it's making any difference, right? So I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm not seeking anything anymore. You know, I think this is all very interesting, but I am not going to do anything else to try and try and realize my true nature. And upon giving up at that point, right, your true nature becomes obvious. It becomes obvious that what you were chasing is what you are. It becomes obvious that what you were chasing has always been available to you. Always been available to you. But you're not going to recognize it unless the old system, right, unless the old system fails so thoroughly that you abandon it. And when you abandon it, right, when you abandon it, now you're available to see what's always there. Before you abandon it, you were preoccupied with it. Before you were abandoning it, you were using it as a way of being in the world. You were using it as a way of seeking, using it as a way of being in the world, using it as a way to experience enlightenment, which will never happen, right? And so upon giving up, right, upon stopping being preoccupied with that, freeing up your attention, freeing up your energy, freeing up your awareness, it dawns on you that, wait a minute, I've been looking for what I am, and I've been being that looking for it. That's a cosmic joke, right? That's why some people, when they wake up, they start laughing, you know. What have I been doing? You know, I've been chasing me. I've been being me, chasing me. I've been being me, trying to be me. Right? And the other thing that happens when that happens, right, is there's a tremendous, for many people, not everybody, right, but when that happens, there's a tremendous sense of relief, right? Something is released, something is let go of. What's let go of? What's let go of is all of the weight you've been carrying around in your life as a personality and a physical body, all the emotional baggage you've been carrying around in your life, you know, all of the incomplete experiences you've been carrying around in your life going back to your birth, right? So now when you wake up and you realize yourself as awareness, right, you realize that this awareness that you are is free. It was never burdened. It never carried any weight. It was happy from the get-go. It was satisfied and at peace from the beginning, right? So just like that, you have what you wanted. Just like that, you have the happiness that you always were seeking. And you know now that it was always available, but the availability of it is only possible when you know that the duck and the rabbit are always there. You see, I'm going back to that, but that's, the duck and the rabbit are always there. Yeah, you will continue to be in the form of a personality and continue to operate as a personality, right? And you'll continue to be ineffective as a personality, but that ineffectiveness will now start to move toward being effective, because now you know about the other side of the equation. Now you know you're not just the personality. Even if that's what you're experiencing at the moment, you know the other side of it is there all along, all the time. The awareness is there all the time. And because you know the awareness is there all the time, now you have direct and immediate access to what you always wanted. Satisfaction, peace of mind, happiness, right? However, the programming that is the personality is still running, right? So when that runs, it pulls your attention into it and has you forget the other side of the equation And when you forget the other side of the equation, you're back into the experience of being a separate self, and you're back into the experience of suffering, right? This is where a lot of people get stymied. This is where a lot of people get caught up, right? Because when they get back into the experience of being the personality, and if because of that, they forget about the other side of the equation, they forget about the fact that the awareness is always here, right? Just like the picture, that the awareness is more fundamental than either side of the equation, right? The awareness is more fundamental than the rabbit or the duck, right? So in the beginning of the process, when you fall into the personality, it seems as though the awareness isn't here anymore, just like when you pay attention to the picture and you're looking at the duck, it seems like the rabbit's not there anymore. So you have to deal with the fact that even though awareness doesn't appear to be present, that it is always present. You have to get used to the fact that it's always present, because it's formless, right? It's formless. Not only is it formless, but even the form you're in as a personality is the awareness. Even the form you're in as a personality is the awareness. So these teachings have to be realized. These teachings have to be realized. And this is the process that takes time. And you have to get clear about the fact that when you're in the personality, it's not that the awareness isn't there. When you're in the personality, you have to get clear that the awareness is still there. It's still there. Not only is it still there, but when you're living the life of the personality and you're being challenged in ways that are causing suffering, if you remember the other side of the equation, if you remember the rabbit, if you remember the awareness and know the awareness is there, just the remembering of it, just the recognition that it is always available, right, will transform the experience you're having when you're suffering, and the suffering will drop. The suffering will come to an end. Because the suffering is only in existence when you're being a separate self. The suffering is only in existence when you're being a separate self and you think you've lost the happiness that was available to you when you were experiencing your true nature. You think you lost the happiness that was available to you when you were experiencing your true nature, which means that a thought occurred and you believed the thought, and because you believed the thought took you out of the awareness of awareness and into the life of the person. But it's just a thought. So you have to develop your ability to be skillful and abide as the awareness looking at the thought, right? Instead of being the personality believing that you're thinking those thoughts, right? This takes time and practice. And during that period of that process, it's very important to have guidance. It's very important to have somebody you can talk to that can say, you're over here, the path is here. You've moved away from the path, move back to the path. So they can keep bringing you back to the path until you start to get used to and familiar with and know what it feels like to be on the path and stay on the path. So you get better and better at realizing that the awareness is always here, it's always who you are, it's always the truth, it's never not so, right? And if that understanding and the experiences that starts to be more and more consistent, right, then the life of the personality, right, becomes less of what you're aware of, and the life of awareness becomes more of what you're aware of. And then your life starts to reflect that in the sense that you start to experience this natural state of happiness, well-being, peace, and satisfaction. Even while you're in the game of life that is provocative, right? Even when you're in the game of life that's provoking you and causing the machinery, causing the state of mind, and causing the conditioning to produce reactions and behaviors and moods and all the rest of it. Even when that's the case, it loses its ability to bother you. That's why when Krishnamurti said, when they asked Krishnamurti, how would you describe your state of existence, your state of being? He said, the best way I could talk about it is to say, I simply don't mind. I don't mind anymore what's going on, because I know the truth. I know that what I am is the awareness, and I know the awareness is never going to be affected by what's happening, so I can afford to be at risk. I can afford to be the personality and take risks as a personality, because I now know my true nature, and I now know my true nature is not at risk. Nothing can happen to me. And therefore you have the preamble to the Course in Miracles that says, what is real cannot be threatened. See, that becomes an experiential reality. I am real and I cannot be threatened. What is real cannot be threatened, right? And what is unreal doesn't exist, therefore it's not a threat. What is unreal doesn't exist, and therefore it's not a threat. And then the last part of that I don't usually add, but it is there in the preamble to the Course in Miracles, and that says, and therefore, right, what you have is a peace of mind that's beyond understanding. A peace of mind that's beyond understanding. So that's what's available, and the interesting thing about it, and the important thing about it is it's available at all times, under all conditions, under all circumstances. It's available at all times, under all conditions and all circumstances. So meditation is a way of beginning to practice getting to a place where music becomes possible. It's beginning to practice learning how to play the piano so you can get to a place where music becomes possible. Meditation is beginning to practice being the awareness so that eventually the fulfillment of your experience of your life becomes possible. You know, it's like my Zen teacher said, you know, in reality, in truth, when you were born and took your first breath, you were fulfilled. When you were born and you took your first breath, you were fulfilled. Because the fulfillment of your experience of a human life was there right then. It was there right then. And then it's just a question of, at some point in your experience of your life, do you become aware of that? Do you notice that? You know, at some point in your life, do you have an opportunity, like looking at that picture of the duck? You know, does something happen in your life where you're presented with looking at life, like looking at that picture of the duck, and contemplating it, and spending enough time in a relaxed, calm state looking at it that you can see the rabbit? That's what happens in meditation. In a calm, physically relaxed state and a calm mind state, you're looking at the awareness, being aware of the body breathing. That's like looking at the image of the duck, right? And at some point, oh, you see the rabbit. At some point you realize that it's not just, when you're practicing meditation, at some point you realize it's not just a matter of paying attention to the awareness of the body breathing. It's not just a matter of that. But now it occurs to me, wait a minute, that awareness is me. I'm what's looking at the body breathing. The awareness is not outside of me. It's not separate from me. It's what I am. That's the realization. That's self-realization. That becomes more available because you're in a physically relaxed state with a calm mind, looking at something that's not being obscured by your thought process anymore. And that makes it possible for you to wake up and recognize what's really the case, what's really the truth. So I hope that these talks, I mean, my intention in these talks is to inspire you, right? To inspire you, when the word inspire means breathe life into, right? And the intention is to motivate you, you know, to have you realize that this is available to you at all times, right? And if you do realize that and you understand that, right, then you make this something that you have in front of you consistently all the time. If your awareness is available all the time, wouldn't it be a good idea to have it be your mission to pay attention to being aware all the time? Not just in meditation, when you're practicing meditation. And that is a real possibility. You can get to the point where your awareness of being aware, your awareness of your true nature, right, has stabilized sufficiently, right, that you no longer have to practice it. Because what is it? What is the awareness? It's you. So you get to a point where you no longer have to practice being what you are. You know, it's evident that you are what you are, and you begin to experience the natural state without trying to practice being it at all. Another way of saying the same thing is that you get to a place where you never see, no matter what you're looking at the image, whether you see the duck or the rabbit, you're always aware that the other part of it, the other aspect of it is there. And furthermore, you're always aware that the duck and the rabbit are the same thing. The duck and a rabbit are the awareness. The personality and the awareness are both awareness. Right? Non-dual. Non-dual.